School board meeting of May 20th, 2014 is now called to order. The time is 6:01. At this time, we would request all cell phones and or pagers be turned to the off or be put in silent mode. Also, we ask you please refrain from using flash photography except during the special presentation portion of the meeting. We'd like to take this opportunity to remind members of the public of the district's mission, which is to ensure that each student achieves his or her highest personal potential and the district's vision to be a world-class school system. Back for a third appearance with us is Mr. Brandon Rice, recent graduate.
Yep.
And he was the first student representative who was here in January. At that time, he was a senior at North Fort Myers High School, and by hook or by crook has managed to graduate. So congratulations, Brandon.
Thank you.
He's taken part in many of the clubs and many positions, including vice president of the Spanish Club for 2 years, mock trial, a 2014 class officer, and this year adding the executive council president. He's dedicated his time to community service, logging over 100 hours in the past 2 years alone. Just this last Sunday, Brandon graduated from North Fort Myers and notes he'll be attending Mars Hill University as a biology major for a 4-year degree, and then go on to Wingate University for a medical or pharmacy degree. We wish you very well in the future, Brandon. We're happy to have you here again tonight. This evening's agenda includes the invocation, presentation of colors and pledge of allegiance, 2 recognitions, public comment, consent action items, which include 2 under executive services, 7 under business and finance, 6 under operations, 6 under teaching and learning, 5 superintendent recommendations, and 1 attorney's recommendation, which is good cause. Mr. Dodig, would you please provide an explanation for this item?
Yes, Mr. Chair. The superintendent's contract expires on June 19th, 2014. Florida law requires that the district employ a superintendent. In addition, Dr. Graham's contract requires notice today of the board's intention with regard to her future employment. Therefore, this justifies good cause for this item.
As presiding officer, I find there is good cause to add this item to the agenda. There will be 3 items for public hearing and 4 items under other business. Board members, is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Support.
Ms. Fisher, supported by Mr. Armstrong. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Ms. Morgan will deliver the invocation, after which Ms. Fisher will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. And after the special presentations portion of the agenda, I'm going to call for a brief recess to allow those who wish to leave to do so. So I would ask you to please stand, remain standing until the colors are removed.
Sharing some thoughts with you this evening. We are meeting here as a school board and community to advance educational opportunities for every child in this district. We want to help our students be the best they can be. Let us take this moment to consider the importance of the responsibility each one of us has in raising and educating the children of this community. Let us remember to thank every member of this learning community for whom educating children is a calling and a passion. Let us be patient as we work together, be open and transparent in our conduct, and be prepared to embrace challenge and change. Let us strive to do good here, to be honest and ethical in our dealings, and to serve the children of this district to the best of our abilities. Thank you.
Tonight, the cadet presenting the national colors will be introduced by Sergeant Major Levi Bennett. Sergeant Major Bennett is in his 2nd year of teaching junior ROTC at Cypress Lake High School. He served 24 years in the U.S. Army in mainly armor units in Germany, Egypt, Korea, Kuwait, Iraq, and numerous stateside Army bases. Sergeant Major Bennett also served as an Army recruiter and a drill sergeant during his military career. He has a Bachelor of Science degree in Human Resources Management from Excelsior College and is one course short of completing his master's degree in Public Administration from Norwich University. Good evening.
Thank you. The National Colors will be presented by Lieutenant Colonel Christopher Mayu, recently selected Battalion Commander for the Panther Battalion at Cypress Lake High School. Chris will be a senior next year and is an excellent student with an overall GPA of 4.35. He is a member of the drill team, color guard, rifle team, and academic team, which earned first place amongst the 14 JROTC programs in Lee County this year. He is a member of the National Honor Society, the CLHS AP Academy, with plans to graduate as an AP Scholar with distinction. His future plans are to major in software engineering at Florida Institute of Technology.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. You got something to do.
Good afternoon. I would like Mr. James Lefko and Principal Lynn Harrell to please join me at the lectern. In January of this year, Ms. Lefko selected as the Lee County Educator Support Person of the Year, and on April 25th in Tallahassee, Florida Commissioner Pam Stewart recognized Ms. Lefko as the Florida School-Related Employee of the Year. I would like to ask Ms. Harrell to say a few things about her employee.
Good evening. So nice to see you, and I'm so happy that we're here to celebrate Mr. Lefko. I actually wrote a book for his nomination, but I won't read the book, I promise. I just actually thought it would be appropriate for you all to know the great things that he does for our school. One of the most important is he mentors students at our school. He serves as the director of our after-school program. He started a wonderful fishing club that all of our families benefit from every weekend. As a matter of fact, they just had their big cookout and fishing thing this past weekend. And he is loved by everybody. And I actually just wanted to read all of my staff members. I have to put on my cheaters. When I wrote my letter, I asked, and they knew I was doing it. So I just wanted to read just a couple of the adjectives that they used to describe him beyond my own words. Mr. Lefko is not only the best cafeteria manager I've ever worked with, he serves as a mentor to my male students. He is an incredible attribute to our school. He goes above and beyond the call of duty by helping out in the classroom when he has spare time. He's highly motivated, a team player who thrives on creating and improving programs for children. I'm just reading the initial comments. James is a person I can count on for anything, anytime. There is an old saying, goes an extra mile to help others. Not only does he do this mentally, but he also physically does this by running with the students daily. He is a great guy. He is always smiling. He's thinking about what he can do to make Bayshore kids have the very best experiences. So it's not just what I think about him, but it's what our school loves about him as well. And we are just so proud. We were celebrating. It was so great. Dr. Graham sitting there with me at Legoland as he received this. So thank you for this opportunity to celebrate him yet one more time.
The school board and the superintendent are pleased to recognize and congratulate Mr. James Lefko as 2014 School-Related Employee of the Year. Mr. Lefko, would you like to say something, please?
Sure. I'm so honored to be able to represent Lee County, never mind the state of Florida. There's just so many incredible people. I'm glad to hear that I enriched the lives of those I work with at the school and the children, but they've done just as much for me. I truly enjoy every day that I go to work, so thank you all for that opportunity.
I would like to ask Mr. Rick Tully, Staff Development's Professional Development Resource Teacher, and Mr. Lee Hughes, Curriculum Science Coordinator, to please join me. The Thomas Alva Edison Kiwanis Science Fair and Engineering Fair is an annual regional event that brings over 450 of our brightest science students together to share their enthusiasm for their own science research and to compete for regional prizes and recognition. In its 57 years of operation, our fair has continued to grow in size and in stature. Our region includes public, private, parochial, and homeschool students from Lee and Charlotte counties. Our students are very competitive at both the state and the international science fairs. This year, 8 of our Lee County Public School students were recognized with first place awards and became finalists at the Florida State Science and Engineering Fair and won 4 full-year academic scholarships to Florida Gulf Coast University. I'll repeat that. These 4 students won full 4-year academic scholarships to FGCU. That is really something to be proud of. I'd like to give these certificates to Mr. Tully. And when I call your name, I would ask that you please come up front, and Mr. Tully will give you your certificate, and then you can go and shake hands with the board. Derek Robles from North Fort Myers Academy of the Arts. Arushi Shantok, Paul Lawrence Dunbar Middle School.
She's on her 8th grade trip.
Okay. She is on her 8th grade trip and can't be here this evening.
Emma Heisey also.
Emma Heisey is also on her 8th grade trip, but let's give her a round of applause. Derek Vigney, Dunbar High School. He couldn't be here either. Oh, he is here. Okay. All right. I thought she just said she had his too. Tarini Shandot, Fort Myers High School. And we gave her a round of applause. She couldn't be here either. Maxwell Norleans, Fort Myers High School. Is also not here. Katie Thorpe, Fort Myers High School. Also wasn't able to make it. Tyson Tristan, Island Coast High School. Okay. 4 of these students won additional recognition at the Florida State Science and Engineering Fair. Emma Heisey, Arusha Shandot, Katie Thorpe, and Maxwell Norlands. And Maxwell Norlands will be a finalist at the International Science and Engineering Fair and will be part of our regional team of 4 students. The superintendent and the school board are very pleased to recognize and congratulate these students on what is truly a world-class accomplishment. And I will go off script just a little bit, and I will say that recently I had the opportunity to attend a banquet that was held by the Kiwanis Club that actually puts together the science fair, and they have been actually endorsing it for many years now. And they did, all 57 years actually, they've been funding it. And they had brought back one of the science fair winners that actually went on to medical school, became a doctor, and it was really quite a night to have her there and speaking to everybody. So these students that have this opportunity, it's a wonderful opportunity for them, but the rewards that they are given thanks to the Kiwanis and their partnerships that they have, the scholarships are unbelievable. So, Mr. Tully, I would ask if you'd like to say a few words.
Science does excite me, and in particular science research, and science research that is initiated by the students. It comes from their heart, from their interest. These students represent the peak of accomplishment in our school district, but what really excites me is that these students represent 12,000 students that are doing their own independent science research at the school level, and these kids are the ones that are leading the way to excellence and, well, our future. So thank you for doing science. You got it.
At this time, we'll take a very brief recess. If anybody would like to leave, that's certainly possible now. But we'll get All right, we're ready to reconvene. The next item on the agenda is public comment. Mr. Dodig, would you please address the agenda item of public comment?
Yes, sir. School board policy provides the opportunity at this point in the meeting to address the board concerning any matter on this meeting's agenda or any other matter relevant to the operation of the school district. If you completed a card and provided that to me before the meeting began, or during the meeting, you will be called in the order of the cards submitted. If you did not submit a card but still wish to address the board this evening, Mr. Scott, the board chair, will give you an opportunity in a minute to express that desire. The rules concerning public comment are posted at the back of the room and include the requirement that any speaker who wishes to address the board to endorse the purchase of a product or service in which that speaker has a personal interest, the speaker must reveal that interest before making comment to the board. The board does not respond during public comment time to remarks made by speakers. At the end of the meeting, during the board member comment section, the board chair will address the assignment of any concerns or requests made during public comment to the superintendent for resolution. The time allowed per speaker is 3 minutes. Mr. Chair, I have 10 cards.
Okay. Is there anybody on the right side who did not fill out a card that would like to speak? Okay. On the left side. I have 3 more, so we'll call them at the end.
And I think I now have 12, so.
Okay.
All right. The first one is Mr. Bert Saunders.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the school board. For your record, my name is Bert Saunders. I'm with the Gray Robinson Law Firm, and I have the pleasure of working with the North Nicholas High School and the Coronado High School, the Accelerated Learning Solutions, and the parent company, Community Education Partners. We understand that the increase in students' request has been pulled from the agenda, and we certainly have no issue with that. We certainly understand the need to get to the bottom of the complaints and allegations that have been made concerning the schools. But I want to tell you just a couple things. It's almost like deja vu all over again. Back in May of 2013, similar complaints were filed by the same individual. I've got a letter from the school district dated May 7th, 2013, where they're asking for a bunch of information from the 2 schools, from the North Nicholas School, which was provided. So that investigation has gone on for a long time with no indication of any wrongdoing of any kind. The auditors have audited North Nicholas and Coronado High School twice now. There's been no finding of any improprieties of any kind dealing with student achievement, qualifications of the instructors, or anything of any consequence in terms of the classroom. We all know that there was an FTE audit. The good news there is that I've been advised by the Department of Education General Counsel that there will be a ruling from the Department of Education supporting the position of the North Nicholas and Coronado High School. So that issue, hopefully within the next 30 to 45 days, will go away also. I mention that because obviously the increase in students is important. It's important to the students that would be served by these 2 schools, and it's my request, respectfully, that your staff complete the investigations as quickly as possible so that we can increase the enrollment for this coming fall calendar. We'll be fully cooperative. Any information that is needed, we will provide. We'll try to get to you as quickly as possible because really time is of the essence. The individuals that would suffer the most by a delay are the students that need the services of these dropout prevention programs. I think all of you have visited the schools. You're all very familiar with them. They've had a very successful year this year, and they hope to continue to serve and to increase their student enrollment. So with that, thank you for your service, and I look forward to when this comes back on your agenda. Thank you.
The next card is Mr. Kevin Regal.
Sorry, it took a little time. It'd be just a second.
You're on.
My name is Kevin Regal, and I continue to advocate for students and athletes who had their education severely compromised and whose safety was put at risk at Lehigh Senior High last year. Due to the current superintendent and staff's inaction in this matter, I motion to the school board the following for the greater good clause. Number 1, I move that the board call in the athletes and parents of last year's soccer team at Lehigh, who was coached by Isaiah Jones, whom the district and administration was warned about, and whom had numerous misdemeanors when he was allowed by Principal Corey to coach these athletes, and now is a convicted pedophile in the news. In addition, bring in the athletes and parents of last year's Lehigh High School cross-country team, who was coached and driven around by John Solak, a social science teacher arrested for a DUI who had a minor in the car and is convicted of a misdemeanor. He had a revoked license, a permit to drive to and from work, but no permission to drive athletes around at work. I ask that the board take action on their behalf in the name of safety and set new regulations so that no principal or athletic director can ever allow these actions that put our students' safety at risk. Number 2, I move that the school board bring in the approximate 100 students and their families who last year were affected educationally when at Lehigh Senior High, Principal Jackie Corey removed a teacher and put a para in the classroom. Many students failed the end-of-course exam. All of these students had to retake the exam, and many this year had to retake algebra this year. This illegally affected their education when teacher Fred Bland was pulled out by Principal Corey and para Daniel Starks, who was not a certified substitute or teacher at that time, was allowed to teach these students alone. The board needs to rectify this situation with these students and families to the full extent of the school district. Number 3, I respectfully move the board to take action against Principal Jackie Corey due to these actions as related to putting Lehigh athletes' safety in dire risk, not once but twice, many times actually, and for violating FLDOE statutes, and by placing a para in a teaching role and detrimentally affecting the education of over 100 students. Those are my 3 motions. Now, to finish, back in 2012, I wrote all 5 board members and Dr. Greg Adkins, and the letter was directed to Dr. Greg Adkins, who at the time was the East Zone coordinator and directly oversaw Principal Jackie Corey. In this letter, I spoke of the first 2 situations about Isaiah Jones and John Solak. He did not call or inquire. The school board did not follow up. His and their direct lack of action allowed Jackie Corey 5 months later to take the stance that she did with the para, and this affected over 100 students. Now the school district and Christine Christensen writes me and states that the school district investigated these claims and the matter is now closed when she never contacted me. This seems to be one giant cover-up since the district, it seems to be the worst kept secret. I expect better from our elected officials, and the school board of Lee County, you are now on the clock with your decision.
The next speaker is Mr. Stephen Toiber.
Thank you, Mr. Dodick. Good evening, Superintendent, board members. Earlier today, I saw you brief the contract for the superintendent and was shocked when I left and I was in my office and I heard that a contract you received 8 hours ago in its form that you're going to bring forward today, you're going to take it up for vote today with no public input, no feedback from the public whatsoever. In fact, it's not even been presented to the public for review. I find that as a trick of hand, and I wonder why that's being done. We have a contract now that after 11 months of performance with no demonstrative results, we want to give a $26,000 raise to a superintendent, $10,000 more than a superintendent that was actually had 2 superintendent positions under his belt when he got this position. There is nothing to justify the amount. If you recall, when you originally did your superintendent search, the range was between $165,000 and $195,000, and now you want to put her base salary at $195,000 after 11 months of service with no demonstrated results. But you also want to give her the raise, which the teachers are going to get, which will probably be 4 or 5%. That will put her pay at about $205,000. You want to give her a contract of a 2-year contract which I don't have a problem with, but to give her a 15% raise, having no demonstrative results, is a slap in the face to all of our teachers and our support personnel. Our administrative staff worked 4 years and finally got a 1.5% raise, and they've worked with demonstrative results. At the time, we were an A district, and they had done demonstrative things as far as positive results. I ask you to reconsider, pull this off the table, extend her contract, the current one that she has, to allow you to do the work. The fact that this contract began in January and you now got it yesterday or today is no excuse for you to rush to a decision that affects all the taxpayers and everybody in Lee County. Thank you.
The next speaker is Bonnie Kennard Margolin, and I apologize for any mispronunciation.
Thank you, Mr. Dorig. Thank you, Dr. Graham and school board members, for allowing me to speak here today. My name is Bonnie Kennard Margolin, and I am a parent here of a 9-year-old in Lee County and a 20-year-old that just recently graduated from Cape Coral High School and is studying at the University of Central Florida for journalism. I'm here today in support of the parents who are going to be speaking. There are plenty of them. Regarding recess in the elementary school. As a parent of a child in our elementary schools, I think it is so important that they be allowed an opportunity for unstructured recess. At least that's why I came here today. I changed my mind on what I was going to speak of today, however, because at the end of my day as a teacher, I received quite a few very concerned teachers come to me as their building rep for the Teachers Association of Lee County. I'm also on the exec board there. They came to me concerned about today's CCEs that were given. They're very concerned. The guidance counselors were concerned there were some errors in those tests and they wanted those to be looked at. But more than anything, they're concerned about the perception that their VAM scores are going to be based on these CCEs with these errors in the test. Errors not just in the actual questions, but in the directions themselves. On the guidance of my president, I was told to call Mr. Itzen, and I did do so, and he was very helpful, and I appreciate that, and I know they will be addressed. But I'm hoping as a district we can look at all of the tests that we are giving and try to determine which ones are the necessary ones, which ones are absolutely required by the state statutes. If you remember, I was here 2 years ago to the date, and you all approved a resolution to oppose high-stakes testing, and I appreciate that. And you went up to the state board and you got it approved up there, and I know you did. And not long after, our superintendent of schools up there resigned, and I appreciate all that you did, but we need more right now. We are looking at CCEs, finals, FCAT, EOCs, and then baselines, mid-year exams. It's a lot of testing, and that's at my middle school level. Compound that with district level tests along with the academic plan at the elementary level. It's a lot. So I'm hoping this summer I'm going to come visit you a lot and remind you, and maybe we can get a committee together of teachers and school board members and parents, and we can pull back and look at this as a district. We were #1 A district, largest school in the state when this all happened, and I hope we get back there, and we're willing to help you do that. So thank you for your time.
Next speaker is Ms. Kim Fisher.
Hi, my name is Kim Fisher. I am a parent in the system. I have 4 students. My oldest just graduated from Fort Myers High School. I'm also a teacher in the system. Our son has just graduated, and I'm here to speak about David LaRosa's bullying at the school. Right now, Ben has been the victim of a lot of his bullying. Ben is now out of LaRosa's reach because he just graduated on Saturday. And I also want to go on record saying that we do fear retaliation for our 3 younger children, 2 of whom will be at Fort Myers next year. The 4th child will join them the year after. I want to give you some direct quotes from a meeting my husband, my son, and I had with David LaRosa and Mr. Eckhart last beginning of October, this past school year. This school year, 2013. A little bit of background. Our son was senior class president, and he ran because he wanted to change the climate and the tone of the school that LaRosa has set, and he's also perpetuated. David LaRosa told Ben that, quote, he has no friends. Why do you think no one supports you? Because no one in that class likes you. He clearly stated that we were bad parents. He blamed our son in what would have been quite a comedic display of lack of control had it been in a different situation for a few girls wearing short shorts on Shorts Day. He said, I quote, it's your fault that girls showed up at our school with short shorts. He was red in the face. He went on obsessively about this. He told us that he never should have let Ben run for any office, and I'm sure that an attitude like that could not be condoned by the school board. If it is, then possibly we have other issues. Ben had one teacher say to him, one very kind teacher, that if he was not as strong as he is, that LaRosa's social persecution would have led him to commit suicide. No student should ever have to experience a wrath of this behavior that this school board clearly is endorsing. He's clearly endorsing this employee, and you should stop. The superintendent's silence and the school committee's silence shows that it condones bullying. Right now, unfortunately, at Fort Myers High School, there's a code of silence among the staff. The code of silence exists pretty much for the same reason that it does in inner-city crime-ridden neighborhoods, for fear of retaliation. People are afraid to lose their jobs. I'm a teacher in the system, and if I ever said any of those things to any student or parent, for that matter, I would be fired on the spot, as I should be, because that's reprehensible. I've also spent hours this year calling and finally emailing the superintendent's office just to speak with someone about these issues. I started off calling our local school board representative, who then told me to call the different office. It took me a little while to get through to the right person, but I was disappointed to find out I don't think it was the right person. I was finally passed off to Marty Iovine's office.
Ms. Fisher, I'm sorry, your time is up.
All right.
Next speaker is Mr. Benjamin Fisher.
All right, hello everybody. I'm Ben Fisher, and as they said, I was the senior class president elected for this year of the class of 2014. My major goal, as stated, was to kind of change up some stuff I had noticed from a long time, LaRosa's attitude. And the big thing was, I started off this year, the goal was to lessen time in ISS. And we have a class of SGA leaders that I was in. And going through the class, I started to get some pushback from a teacher. I won't say any names, but so we scheduled the parent-teacher conference that she spoke about. She gave some quotes. I won't go into that. And then shortly after, I had a friend come up to me, also an SGA, and this friend said, hey, you know, the other day I was talking to the SGA sponsor, the teacher, and she said that at the beginning of the year, when you weren't in the classroom, LaRosa came in and said, hey guys, don't do anything Ben does, don't go along with him, don't go along with any new ideas or anything that could be associated as any form of rebellion. Otherwise, he said, like, you're not going to have your position, some sort of threats or corrosion to keep these students from acting on their responsibilities. Another note, let's see, just kind of something I thought was outrageous. I was walking down the hall maybe 2-3 months ago, and LaRosa just got back from a meeting, something important in the school district. He comes back, furious, screaming down the hallways for me, our student resource officer, to hear, and other students. The quote was, somebody's name can take this and shove it up his word, I'm not going to say, and then he just stormed off, slammed his office door, and that was that. Also, I had a petition with over 500 student signatures, about a third of our student body population. This was a little further into the year. He refused to even look at it. It was to keep students from spending as much time in ISS, not in their classes. And he refused to even look at the petition until another member of SGA had presented it to them. He told me that only members of SGA had the power to create petitions. I'm not sure if that's an actual school board policy, but I'm sure you guys can clarify that. That's really all I have to say. Thank you for your time.
Next speaker is Mr. Ken Williams.
Hello, my name is Dr. Kenneth Williams, and Mr. Saunders spoke first tonight. I don't know if he's still here, but he makes it sound as if I am the only person with a concern about North Nicholas High School Certified Education Partners or Accelerated Learning Solutions. I had notes, I put them aside. I am not the only person. I'm simply the only person that's come forward in this county, in this state. They've been a subject of national stories on PBS like Frontline. The Cape Coral Breeze in 2000, Mr. Saunders himself commented about the grade changing occurring at North Nicholas High School. That's more than a third of a decade ago. It's still going on. It's done by a man with no degree, no teaching certification, and it's done for young women only. Doesn't that concern any of you? This has been going on for so long, and you keep approving all these things that this company wants. Certified Education Partners, Accelerated Learning Solutions. To me, it looks like they have some connection with some people on this stage. I hope I'm wrong. But if any of you get money from that company, you need to come forward. What they are doing is wrong. Mr. Saunders made it sound as if they're going to somehow be cleared and everything is great and everything is grand. I got a letter this month from the Inspector General saying that they want information about what's going on. Things are not great. Things are not grand. That school, I agree, has some wonderful students. Those students need support. Why does it have to be that company that serves them when they have a proven track record of issues? There was a child, somebody's daughter was the victim of statutory rape. A grown man, two grown men and a woman. The assistant principal knew about it and did not report it. The reason was they wanted to keep it, quote unquote, in-house. That's wrong. Two people did report it. I was one, the other was the principal. We both were fired. Two of the people who kept it quiet, Mrs. Morris got promoted to principal. Mr. Petit got promoted to assistant principal. I may be the only one speaking about this issue, but I guarantee you it is important. And if you don't think it is, I want you to sit silently for a moment and think, what compels a grown man with no degree, no teaching certification to have access to all the females at that school, their addresses, their phone numbers, and the grades? And why is he given the permission to enter grades for students,
Mr. Williams,
to change grades?
Your time is up, sir. Thank you. Next speaker is Mr. Anthony Thomas.
Good evening, members of the school board, Madam Superintendent. I often don't speak about personnel matters. It's not something I'm really interested in. But I want to talk about a process. You know, we have had two situations now in the district, one dealing with Dr. Bishop and one with Mr. LaRosa. And I don't know whether Mr. LaRosa is guilty or innocent. That's for Dr. Graham and her staff to do a proper investigation and determine the outcome of it. But what I do believe is that if you're going to have a policy, a district policy, and my understanding of the policy is whether an administrator has some allegations made against them, that there's a confidential investigation that takes place. After that investigation is over, they have an opportunity to respond. After the school district has reached their verdict, and about 10 days after that, it becomes public. What I'm very concerned about, and we saw it twice now, is with Dr. Bishop, we saw the allegations made in the media, and then we saw the district people say, well, you ought to resign because of some other reason. We got to have some kind of process and policy. If we're going to have a policy, we need to follow the policy. So again, I don't know whether Mr. LaRosa is guilty or innocent, but what I don't like, and I don't think is appropriate, is for district people to put this information out in the media before he's had his due process. So that's what LaRosa is, a white man, Dr. Bishop is a black man. But in both cases, we have administrators. These principals make a lot of money. They've invested a lot of time. They've been confirmed by the board, appointed by the superintendent. We don't want anyone to besmirch the reputation of any of our administrators. So I just think that if we're going to have a process, we need to follow it. Now, with the superintendent's contract, I think that it is appropriate. I heard Steve's argument earlier. I'll come at it from a different angle. My angle is this. I think Dr. Graham has been doing a good job. There's some areas I like to see improved, such as better communication with the board and with the minority community. Now, with that being said, I believe that it is appropriate for this board, if you're going to extend Dr. Graham's contract, do it for a one-year period. We're going to have a situation where we have an election here in November. 3 members of the board will be up for re-election. Maybe they'll be re-elected, maybe they won't. But let's show courtesy to your potential successors to allow them to sit in the seat if the voters of Lee County put them there and have their independent judgment. Don't bind the hands of your successors. So I would just plead to the school board in that regard to simply allow Mrs. Dr. Graham to continue. I'm not one of those people who besmirch the fact or bemoan the fact that she's getting paid. I believe in equal pay for equal work. So I don't care if you give her a little bit more extra money. You know, in this country, women get paid pennies on the dollar.
Mr. Thomas, your time is up. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Ms. Tess Brennan.
Thank you, Board, for the opportunity to address you. My name is Tess Brennan. It is our obligation as adults to guide the children of Lee County toward healthy lifestyles. Having a lot of knowledge without the ability to focus and utilize that knowledge is chaos and useless. Most adults get an hour for lunch. Most also know they cannot go full throttle for extended periods of time without suffering burnout. As healthy adults, we realize the importance of time to relax and rebalance. Research has proven that these breaks relieve stress, increase productivity, and prevent potential health issues. I come to you as a parent, knowing we are all here to work together as a team for the best interest of our children. I also know that as a board, you must be interested in the performance of our students on assessments that give our schools their grades. Our children cannot be expected to be at full throttle for 6 to 7 hours a day. It's not healthy for adults, nor for our children. We are seeing the results of poor diet and sedentary lifestyles as research and media report almost daily. Our district is doing a great job at working to improve our children's nutrition through breakfast and improved lunch menus. This is our chance to model to our students the importance of movement and time to release and refresh their thoughts so they can return to the classroom ready to perform and use the knowledge gained from our exceptional teachers. Research shows our children retain information and perform better when given a 20-minute recess every day. Children with ADD find it easier to focus and concentrate. Children's memory of materials increases, and body mass index of obese children reduce when implemented. I am encouraged that San Carlos Park is looking into scheduling recess for all students in the next school year. However, if for any reason our principal was replaced, we run the risk of losing any progress that we've gained. Many parents were unaware that their students did not have recess. You just don't ask your child, "How was recess today?" when they get home. Others were told their school did have recess, only to discover it had been revoked to teach more minutes towards the test. We are here today to request that a 20-minute recess be built into every school day to give our children the tools to succeed, conflict resolution, how to interact with others in a less structured environment, a chance to move, and a chance for their little brains to rest from the information being delivered to them all day long. Please help us help our children in teaching them and modeling healthy lifestyles. It is my request that you would act on this matter tonight. And a fellow parent will be presenting a petition that we've circulated, and as of 6:30, we had 1,300 signatures, and they're still growing. Thank you.
Please hold your demonstrations of support until everybody is finished.
So the next speaker is Christine Golly, I believe it is.
Hi there, good evening. I'm Christine Golly. I'm a mom of 2 students in the Lee County school system, ages 9 and 6, and I've been asked to read this petition tonight on behalf of many of the parents that are here in support of of advocating for recess to be policy. We, the undersigned, current and future parents and caregivers of students in the Lee County school system, taxpayers and residents of Lee County, petition the Lee County Board of Education to adopt into the Lee County school curriculum a scheduled time for all students in kindergarten and grades 1 through 8 to have daily recess periods 5 days per week for greater than or equal to 20 minutes, as recommended by the CDC, of supervised, unstructured activity time, preferably outdoors, for the purposes of Florida Statutes 1000.02, 1011.61, and 1011.62, and the related rules and regulations by the State Board of Education. The recess required by this code section shall be considered as academic instruction. The Lee County Board of Education should establish policies to ensure that recess is a safe experience for students and that daily recess, greater than or equal to 20 minutes, is scheduled so that it provides a break supportive of academic learning. We support this petition for the following reasons. 1, that a growing number of elementary schools in Lee County, Florida no longer have daily recess. 2, that during the last 3 decades, the prevalence of obesity has tripled among persons aged 6 through 19 years. 3, that the benefits of exercise include building strong bones and muscles, reducing the risk of obesity and chronic diseases related to obesity, and promoting psychological well-being. 4, that the CDC recommends that all public schools follow the school health guidelines to promote healthy eating and physical activity, published September 16, 2011, which recommends at least 1 daily 20-minute period of recess to be provided to all students. 5, that children become progressively inattentive when deprived of a significant break of recess. 6, that Lee County District's practice of in-classroom brain breaks are not equivalent to the benefits of unstructured activity time. 7, that research has shown that children, especially those with attention deficit disorder, are more on task and less fidgety and have been shown to have improved memory after a break or recess. 8, that according to several new studies, students who had daily recess, outdoor activities, or other play opportunities were better behaved than their counterparts and more able to concentrate, even if they have ADHD, than their peers. 9, that research shows that children are active 59% of the time during recess. 10, that children who are inactive in school also tend to be inactive after school. 11, that substantial evidence indicates that physical activity can help improve
Ms. Golly, I'm
academic
sorry,
achievement.
your time is up. Okay. Mr. Scott, I don't have any further cards. I miscounted. I had 1 double and a blank card in the stack. So.
See it.
Kathleen Cherassia, Vice Chair for the Curriculum Committee. 2 points. One thing is the contract for the superintendent. I just want to know where the supporting data is to do such a generous contract. To evaluate and give her this after 11 months with no proven results, like already spoken by Mr. Twaber. I echo everything that he says. Another issue, the Curriculum Committee, Mrs. Fisher presented yesterday the new policy for members, the 2-year policy, which was kind of hard to understand the language, and it was more than confusing. Mrs. Fisher, you can validate that as well. our members, they give up their time for free. You know, years and years. They're good people. They serve a purpose. They give valuable input. I can speak for the curriculum committee. I also served on every other single committee there is, and PTAs. And the only way to terminate is like a 3-year unexcused absences. I would wish that we could set an example to our board members after 3 years of, 3 unexcused absences. I mean, we need to practice what we preach. We need to set good examples. We need to have better communication. I mean, from what I'm hearing tonight, I want to see good things going on here. I think the superintendent has to communicate better with the principals, with the board, and I think parents should have an input. I think the faculty should have an input. Anything that goes on in this school district that involves our children, everyone should be involved, not just one person making a decision at one school. That's a big pet peeve of mine, the power that the principals have in this school. So I would just ask that you reconsider this contract, really seriously think about it. We don't have any scores, we don't have any graduation rates, we don't have anything. After 11 months, what do we have to validate this? It's a good question to think about. Thank you.
Good evening. Good to see you back, Mr. Scott.
Thank you.
I have my son with me tonight, this evening, because this issue directly affects him and his classmates. For those of you who have not met him, this is Sam, my very beautiful, bright, and brave man, young man. While we've been muddling through the bureaucracy to work toward making our district a world-class educational system, my son is racing away his childhood. In his 2.5 years in this public school system, Sam has never had the opportunity to play on a playground during his regular school day. While we are mandated to build and maintain playgrounds on our school grounds, we are not mandated to allow our children time to play on them. My son's daily schedule consists of 6 hours and 20 minutes of instructional time and testing, with a 25-minute break for lunch that includes travel. Please thank Sam and the other children who work tirelessly during each school day to practice and take assessments in order to provide funding for a free, appropriate public education in Lee County. We are here tonight to petition you, the Lee County School Board, to adopt into the Lee County school curriculum and to be considered as academic instruction a scheduled time for all students in kindergarten and grades 1 through 8 to have daily recess 5 days per week, equal to or greater than 20 minutes of supervised, unstructured activity time, preferably outdoors. With this petition, we present you with over 1,400 signatures from Lee County residents supporting this adoption. It's our desire that you will add our simple request to the good of the order tonight and vote to adopt this request into the instructional time for our children to begin as soon as possible and to continue the scheduled instructional time of the coming years. According to the statutes I noted, and I think you all received a copy of this, I hope. According to those statutes, our local board is required to provide a system that is student-centered in every facet. Our board has the right of local operational flexibility to add recess into the student's instructional time. In addition, with Statute 1011.62, there is created a guaranteed allocation to provide these students with a free, appropriate public education in accordance with Statute 1001.42.
Ma'am, excuse me, your time has expired. You're welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. You know my name, Kathleen Robinson. There's a lot of things that I wanted to say, but I only have 3 minutes, so I'm going to be really brief, and most of the things that I have to say are in these cards. I'm going to be leaving Lee County, and it's not with a happy face. I'm going to miss this county. I've learned a lot here about politics, which I love, and I have learned to respect and admire my school board members. Now, I know a lot of you probably say, oh my God, what a suck-up she is, but you have no idea that these people on this board, and some of them in the audience, Mr. Atkins, mean a lot to me because they've been in my life ever since 1986 when Cape Coral was wild and we used to go hunting. And Mrs. Graham, you know what you mean to me and my son. And I am going to really miss this place. Now, I am telling you that I'm leaving, but you know what? God has plans. And there might be something that I didn't do that he wanted me to finish that I didn't know about. And I might be standing up here when school starts back going, oops, my bad. So don't think I'm standing here lying to you. My plans are to leave. I've got my house, my stuff is moved, everything's with my son, and he's on the phone calling me this morning, when you coming, when you coming? So my little time here with you is to tell you how much I have appreciated the kindness and the generosity and the education and the opportunities that you people have given me. I'm almost overwhelmed with it. Mary, you're like my family. I love you. And there are other people in the audience that have retired and that have left, and I can't say goodbye to them, but I hope that they're listening to this program and that they understand that those people that stepped into my life for short periods of time, that they are also someone whom I love. And there are even people that stepped in a mean way that I learned from. Because every day of my life, I make it my business to learn something. And that's not as easy as it's said. I learn something every day. And I hope that my students will learn that from me, because I will miss them. I had a great bunch of kids this year. And I love my students a lot. And I do everything I can for them to make them understand that all adults are not bad, because they do believe that. And adults are not all bad. So I just want to say adieu. I will miss you all.
Perfect timing.
Well, I just want to address a couple of things that were said tonight. Mr. Teuber, it's unfortunate you were using numbers that we did not agree to as we left the table. And I'm sure that information will be made available to you very shortly. The same to Ms. Chericia. I'm interested to hear the comments about recess, and I've heard that personally as I've been out there, and frankly, I don't know what the parameters are for having recess, not having recess, whose choice that is, how long a period of time it involves. But I would ask you, Dr. Graham, if you would please provide that information to me and the rest of the board members, either now or via memo.
I sent midday today a spreadsheet that tells you what each school is doing. And I thought after you all looked at that, you might have some other questions, and this will be a conversation we will have K-8. At this point, I do believe outside of PE, it's a school-based decision.
Okay. I know that in the case of North Nicholas, that Dr. Graham has indicated to me that there are some questions being asked and some examinations being made. And when we have actionable information, we will bring that forward and take whatever action is required.
Changing of the guard.
Substituting for, I guess those are the things that I wanted to talk about. And when it came to the contract discussion, as a matter of fact, during the very brief period of time we had to get out here and get a bite to eat today, I heard a radio broadcast that was broadcasting incorrect numbers. And so I think we've got to find a way when we come to a resolution on this to make sure that the public is made perfectly aware of what the agreements were regarding the contract. We'll move on to the consent agenda. And I'll ask members if they have any items they wish to pull for discussion, beginning with Ms. Fisher.
No pulls this evening, Mr. Scott.
Dozier.
Yes, under operations, C6 on page 77.
Morgan?
I have none.
No, sir, I have none.
And I have none. So with the exception of item C6, page 77, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Fisher, seconded by Mrs. Morgan. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. So we have the one pull, which is C6 on page 17.
77.
Sorry. As soon as I find it. Okay. So is there a motion for the pulled item?
You need a recommendation first, sir?
Oh, okay. Sorry, Dr. Graham, could you please report that one?
I recommend board approval of the perpetual access easement for the Lee County Board of County Commissioners to provide an egress-ingress to Pine Woods Water Treatment Plant. Approval authorizes the superintendent to execute all related documents.
Okay, now is there a motion for the pulled item?
So moved.
Support.
By Ms. Morgan, seconded by Mr. Armstrong. Discussion. Mrs. Dozier.
Well, I pulled the wrong one, but I'll talk about this one too. In fact, I meant to pull 5 instead of 6. But I will say with the easement, this is an example of us working with the Lee County Commission to actually provide access. And I'm going to go on now and tap into number 5. And that is, as a board, a public board, we are working with the private sector, the Colonial Corporate Center, LLC, to actually create a driveway and an easement into the Lee County Public Education Center. This is something that I know has been talked about over the years because we do need access in order to get out onto Metro, and I just applaud the groups that put this together along with the Colonial Corporate Center, and I've already supported that, but I'm going to support this recommendation that I pulled in the wrong way too. But thank you for having interlocal agreements with our fellow county commissioners.
So does she get an oops on this one, Mr. Martin?
I always do.
I'm sorry?
Does she get an oops on this one?
That'll be fine. We can work
Do we need to have Dr. Graham report, in fact, the item that she was intending?
That item has already been voted on. So unless Ms. Dozier wishes to take different action, there's no reason to go back to it.
Fine.
I think I said the one we've already voted on that I tapped out on.
All right. We'll move on to...
We have to vote. We have to vote on this one.
Still need to vote on this item, yes.
All right, on the item that was pulled, any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the like sign. The motion passes 5-0. And we'll move on to superintendent's recommendations, please, under Roman numeral 6. Graham.
Starting with 6B.
Yes. Item 2 under Roman numeral 6. School bell times.
Yes, okay. Want to be sure I was in the right place. I recommend board approval of the school bell times for the 2014-15 school year as presented and authorize the superintendent to adjust school bell times plus or minus 60 minutes for only those schools listed as one of the 300 low-performing schools in reading as determined by the State Department of Education, or plus or minus 15 minutes for all other schools from the board-adopted bell times for the 2014-15 school year to meet the educational needs of students and to improve efficiency within our transportation system where and when possible.
You've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Fisher, second by Mrs. Dozier. Discussion? Mrs. Dozier.
When we initially received this, it basically had 60 minutes, and it was for all schools, and it was the approval, the way it read was approval of the school bell times for the 2014-15 school year as presented and as in previous years, authorize the superintendent to adjust the bell school start times plus or minus 60 minutes. And then it went on to read the rest of it. And I will say that I did have a conversation with Dr. Graham around this, and I was not going to support this evening. And this language, this is the first time I've seen this new language because we've been dealing with other matters, and this new agenda just came up this afternoon. And I will be able to support it, but I want to say why it's important that that new language, the underlined language, is in there. As a board, we have the authority to set school bell times, and we actually, that's part of the governance model, and as a board, if we give away our authority to make those decisions, which the way it was written, we would have given away our authority. And thank goodness it was caught and we were able to change the language, because we actually had a superintendent that was fired for changing the bell times for more than 15 minutes. Because if you think about it, if it was 60 minutes for any of the schools, it would have meant that any school could have been changed. For instance, a high school that starts at 6:10 could have actually started without any board approval. If the language had stayed the same, it could have changed to 10 after 6. It could have changed to elementary schools that started at 8:10 could start at 7:10 and so forth. So I thank the superintendent for putting the clarification language in there, and I will be supporting it.
Yes, I just wanted to say thank you, Dr. Graham. I know we had a lengthy conversation about this, and I asked you to be more clear on the language, and this morning I seen this, and I wanted to say thank you for making sure that you presented this to the public and knew, so they knew exactly, because I received several phone calls concerned about this. And I remember years ago about the same thing that happened with one superintendent. So thank you for making sure you clarify this.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item number 3, please.
I recommend board approval of the expenditure of not to exceed $7,390,072 to obtain property and casualty insurance as outlined in the board-approved brokerage contract with Risk Management Associates, Inc., doing business as Public Risk Insurance Agency for the period July 1, 2014 through June 30, 2015. Approval authorizes the superintendent to execute all related documents.
You've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Dozier, second by Ms. Fisher. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Item 4, please.
I recommend board approval to piggyback Brevard County School Board bid number 13B079LL for bus cameras, accessories, and installation upon award to CN Systems Sales, Inc. for the period of June 18, 2014 through June 17, 2015 at the estimated expenditure of $595,000 with an option to cancel if deemed in the best interest of the district. Approval authorizes the superintendent to execute all related documents.
You've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Ms. Fisher, second by Mr. Armstrong. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 5-0. Number 5, please.
I recommend board approval of the estimated annual expenditure of $10 million for the period of June 5th, 2014 through June 4th, 2015 for RFP number R127035JM for information technology hardware, software, and equipment awarded to Audiovisual Innovations, Inc., B&H Photo, CablesandKits.com, Camcor Incorporated, CDW Government LLC, Contracts Furnishings LLC, E-Instruction, Lightspeed Technologies Inc., Software Express Inc., Troxel Communications Inc., United Data Technologies Inc., and Virtucom. Approval authorizes the superintendent to execute all related documents.
You've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Ms. Morgan, second by Mrs. Dozier. Discussion? I'd just like to say $10 million is a lot of money, but it's a drop in the bucket compared to what we need to be thinking about spending for technology as we move forward. And where that comes from remains the question that we had a conversation about this afternoon during the workshop and listening to the legislative priorities. So it's a lot of money, and I think it gets us maintained, but it doesn't move us ahead. I just want to keep that in front of everybody's attention. Ms. Fisher.
Yeah, and then just one of the items that I did discuss with Dr. Graham was the Atlas project, which has been an ongoing entity since I got on the board. And I see that we're spending another $1.8 million on that now to refresh and update the classroom projection and AV systems in 17 schools. I don't know that we've ever completely finished the beginning of the project or that we ever had a report that we did. But, hi, Dwayne.
I could address that if you like. Yes, we did actually complete the project over a year ago. And so what we're in right now is the refresh phase. And you know, just like computers, those projection systems and all that, they kind of age out. Projectors have about a 5-year lifespan. So that's where we're focused in our refresh plan, is replacing those projector systems as they're aging out and audio systems in the classrooms.
Is that the maximum lifespan that kind of an item could have?
Well, the actual operational life will vary. Sometimes you'll get more, sometimes you won't. That is the supported lifespan of the manufacturers. And each item has its own life cycle. We manage each type of item separately. For example, smart boards last quite a bit longer. They don't generate heat and all that. So the projection systems are where we spend most of the money in refresh, and audio systems, because some of the older ones are just not clear anymore.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Item 6, please.
I recommend board approval to award bid number B147181CP for office supplies for schools, departments, and the district warehouse to Brame School Products, Contract Paper Group, Inc., Marco Office Supply, Furniture and Printing, Inc., National Art and School Supplies, Office Depot, Inc., Pyramid School Products, School Specialty, Standard Stationery, Staples Contract and Commercial, Inc., and Quill Corporation for the period of May 20, 2014 through May 19, 2015, at the estimated annual expenditure for the first year of $600,000 as indicated on the attached tabulation sheet, with renewal options for 2 additional 1-year periods upon the written agreement of the vendors in the district. Approval authorizes the superintendent to execute all related documents.
You've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Armstrong, second by Ms. Fisher. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. We move now to board attorney recommendations under good cause.
Yes, sir. Mr. Scott, board members, I do have the revised contract for you now. I would suggest, Mr. Scott, a brief recess so I can distribute this to board members. There are also copies in the back of the room for the public, so if you want to.
Okay, let's take a 3-minute break. Let's turn back up, please. Thank you. Mr. Martin.
I would ask that we not reconvene until we've had an opportunity to complete reading this.
You got somebody working on that?
Yes, sir.
Because I'm very comfortable with it. We can put our names on the chairs.
We'll reconvene, and I'll throw it to Mr. Martin to walk us through agreement as it stands now.
Mr. Scott, board members, the one item for recommendation this evening is approval of the employment contract with Dr. Nancy Graham as Superintendent of Lee County School District. Employment contract of the Superintendent Dr. Graham expires the present contract on June 19, 2014. A renewal contract has been negotiated, is now being presented for approval by the school board. The term of the contract is 2 years through June 30, 2016. The contract provides for a base annual salary of $185,000 and a potential annual bonus of $10,000. So this evening, I'm recommending approval of the employment contract with Dr. Nancy Graham as Superintendent of the Lee County School District effective June 20, 2014, at a first-year annual cost of $269,512. The documents that you have attached to the agenda item are first a red line showing all the changes and then a clean copy. I'll be happy to walk through the changes again if you'd like.
I think that would be appropriate.
You'll see the term on the second page is established as 2 years, June 20, 2014 through June 30, 2016. The second paragraph under Section 2 provides a provision with respect to rolling that the contract would extend an additional year on the 15th of each year if the board has not taken action to stop that from occurring. The compensation has been changed to $185,000. Paragraph 3B provides the performance incentive pay, indicating that by the 1st of June 2015 and the 1st of June of each following year, the school board would make a determination concerning performance incentive pay based upon the accomplishment of 5 measurable goals that have been established by the school board, $2,000 per goal for full achievement of that goal. The next change is in paragraph 6 with respect to the evaluation. Indicates that the school board will set 5 annual performance goals by August 15, 2014, or upon conclusion of the goals portion of the strategic plan, whichever occurs first, and by August 15 of each ensuing year. And the superintendent would provide updates concerning progress towards those goals in accordance with the schedule adopted by the board. In paragraph 7, there's an additional, in section 7, there's an additional paragraph B, indicating the superintendent will properly inform the school board members of matters which may require school board action and matters likely to receive significant public attention. In paragraph 8, you see the change that was already there.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
If I can say something there. I think that what I said was basically, or anything that could be detriment to the district. I'm not sure that this language captures exactly what my thought was. And my thought was that basically anything that could be a potential problem, a potential, issue that is detrimental to the district. So I'm not sure that the language you've used captures that. But, if everybody else is okay with it, I can.
Would you like to discuss that item, Mr. Scott, or would you like me to proceed?
I'd I would like to hear a little more from Ms. Dozier. I'm not sure I'm getting what she's missing.
Well, where it says, which may require the school board action and matters likely to receive significant public attention. A lot of things receive significant public attention, but anything that is negative, will have a negative impact and is detrimental to the district are the items that I'm saying we need to be notified of. And that was the language that I used, and I'm not sure that this language captures that.
So you'd remove significant public attention and insert those last words that you were just using?
Negatively impact and detrimental to the district.
But I would like to keep likely to receive significant public attention.
So we're talking about adding a very small piece to the end of that sentence. And did you pick it up from what she said, Keith?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The next
Do you have to go back to the mill on this, or can we adopt that?
You can adopt it, but I would suggest that you wait until we know that it would be accepted.
Okay.
The next change was to the transportation allowance, which is what you saw before, increasing to $725. Paragraph 10, that continuing employment provision is removed. Again, the final change was with respect to severance pay in the event of termination without cause, which increased to 15 weeks.
If you go back to 7B, the language would say, superintendent shall promptly inform school board members of matters which may require school board action and matters likely to receive significant public attention. And what else?
And which might negatively impact or be detrimental to the school district.
Can you just say, and matters that may significantly impact, to make it really impact.
Did I understand you, Ms. Morgan, to want to change might to may?
Well, I'm just saying, superintendent shall promptly inform school board members of matters which may require school board action, comma, matters likely to receive significant public attention, comma, and matters that may negatively impact or be detrimental to the district, and or be detrimental to the district. That's all.
Everybody comfortable with that? So we would ask you then, Keith, to take that back to Dr. Graham's attorney, or
Yes, sir.
Can you just?
could you do that in the next 2 minutes?
Probably a little bit longer than that, sir. I want to get you clean copies
All right.
of the correction.
I'd make a recommendation that, is there any reason why we just couldn't table this for the night?
That's the school board's choice.
And it's just make sure that we're looking over this carefully. I mean, obviously, this is something that's really important, so, and maybe I'm just asking my colleagues how they feel, if they want more time to look over it and just table it for the night.
Well, may I ask him a question?
Yes.
I'm willing to second his motion if he's willing to do it for a time certain, which I think a time certain, our next scheduled meeting is June the 3rd.
I'm good with that.
Mr. Scott, at this point, you don't have a motion on the floor, of course, so there could not be a motion to table. There would first have to be a motion to approve the recommendation.
Well, is there a motion to approve the recommendation as amended?
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Ms. Morgan, supported by Mr. Armstrong.
I'd like to make a motion to table this item until the following board meeting, time certain.
Which would be June 3rd.
Which would be June 3rd.
I will second that for discussion.
Okay, discussion?
Okay, but I want a discussion. I want to have discussion on the main motion because we eliminated that. Mr. Martin.
The motion to table is not debatable.
Okay, I'm asking for discussion, not debate, and we didn't have discussion on the original motion. I wanted discussion on the original motion.
Right, would not be in order with a motion to table pending.
Very good.
So we're having discussion.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. It is actually a motion to postpone because we have it to a time certain.
Okay.
Which is debatable, excuse me.
So is that the one we're on now, the motion to table?
The motion to postpone to a time certain, yes.
So, and Ms. Dozier, you have discussion there?
Well, and I have to be absolutely clear that it just left my brain. I can't remember what I was going to say, and it'll probably come to me about 2 o'clock in the morning.
Is there any other discussion on the motion to table?
Postpone.
Postpone, excuse me. Ms. Fisher.
The reason that we're postponing is for Dr. Graham and her attorney to look at the edit that we made, that one part of the sentence.
I'm not sure, you'd have to ask the motion maker what his intent was.
To give Dr. Graham and her attorney time, to give the public time, and to give us time to carefully go through this and to make sure that there is no more hiccups, no more issues, that we cannot later on go, oh, maybe I didn't like that either. I should have said something about this. You know, just trying to make sure we give everybody an adequate amount of time to go through this, even the public, because it is the public's school system and the education school system.
Mrs. Dozier.
And with that rationale, I do agree with that because we were, you know, the whole process, this whole process has been like on a bullet train, and it has been moving very fast. And as late as 8:30 this morning, we received a new draft with changes. And in respect to the public, I agree with what Mr. Armstrong is saying, that we do need to give them the opportunity, you know, to see the contract. And I certainly agree with that and will support this motion.
Further discussion? And I'll ask for the vote on the motion to postpone. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Motion carries 4-1. We'll move now to public hearings. Dr. Graham, I'll ask you to make your recommendations for this evening's public hearing.
I recommend board approval of the revisions to policy 4.35, Head Start eligibility, recruitment, selection, and enrollment as presented. Children will receive points to transition into a 4-year-old class only after they've successfully completed early Head Start or are returning 3-year-old. Children will receive points if their parent has been incarcerated within the last 12 months. Children will receive points if it is the first time their family has enrolled in an early Head Start or Head Start, and there are no points for children 25 to 35 months. The effective date of the revised policy is Wednesday, May 21st, 2014.
I believe I had you do that a little early.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, she can go ahead and do all three, and then you can recess.
Okay.
Yeah.
B, if you present that one as well.
I recommend board approval to adopt the 2014-15 Parent Guide and Code of Conduct for students grades pre-K 5 as presented to provide the guidelines that establish the consequences for improper behavior and the procedures that are followed to ensure a safe and orderly environment for students and staff effective Tuesday, July 1st, 2014.
Okay, and item C, please.
I recommend board approval to adopt the 2014-15 Parent Guide and Code of Conduct for students grades 6-12 as presented to provide the guidelines that establish the consequences for improper behavior and the procedures that are followed to ensure a safe and orderly environment for students and staff effective Tuesday, July 1st, 2014.
At this time, the public is invited to speak on these 3 items. Time allowed for comment is 3 minutes. Is there anyone on the right side who wishes to speak? The left? Seeing no one, we'll close this public hearing and reconvene the regular school board meeting. And I'll ask you once again to read each of the recommendations that we'll take action on.
Approval of the revisions to Policy 4.35, Head Start Eligibility, Recruitment, Selection, and Enrollment as presented. 1, children will receive points to transition into a 4-year-old class only after they've successfully completed early Head Start or are returning 3-year-old. 2, children will receive points if their parent has been incarcerated within the last 12 months. 3, children will receive points if it is the first time their family has enrolled in early Head Start or Head Start. And 4, there are no points for children 25 to 35 months. The effective date of the revised policy is Wednesday, May 21st, 2014.
Motion to approve the recommendation.
So moved. To support.
Recommendation by Ms. Fisher, seconded by Ms. Morgan. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Item B, please.
Approval to adopt the 2014-15 Parent Guide and Code of Conduct for students grades pre-K through 5 as presented to provide the guidelines that establish the consequences for improper behavior and the procedures that are followed to ensure a safe and orderly environment for students and staff effective Tuesday, July 1, 2014.
You've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Ms. Dozier, second by Mrs. Morgan. Any discussion? Mrs. Dozier.
Yes, in fact, I asked why the Parent Guide and the Code of Conduct on this item and item C were not attached. I believe that, especially, I realize that it's a lengthy document. However, because we have gone paperless, it's very easy to attach it. And the fact that we don't have it attached, I think in the future, these are items that should be attached because that's just more transparency. It gives the parents the opportunity to see it. They can click on it online and they can see the backup material. And as it is, they don't have the opportunity to see that. They won't see it until next year. I mean, I realize there's a copy in your office, but that doesn't provide us with that document.
There is a summary of the revisions were added after you made that request. If you scroll down.
And again, I appreciate the changes, but the new changes being noticed, but I would just ask, it's very easy to attach that as well so that new parents to the district can actually see this. It gives them a heads up ahead of time. In the past, we used to always include those documents on the evening that we were going to support them or recommend them. So I would just ask that in the future we do that.
Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the like sign. Motion carries 5-0. Item C, please.
Sorry, I scrolled down and now I'm gone. Okay.
Somebody showed me a little trick that if you click on it over here, it brings you right to it.
Approval to adopt the 2014-15 Parent Guide and Code of Conduct for students grades 6-12 is presented to provide the guidelines that establish the consequences for improper behavior and the procedures that are followed to ensure a safe and orderly environment for students and staff, effective Tuesday, July 1, 2014.
You've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Ms. Fisher, seconded by Mrs. Morgan. Discussion. Mrs. Dozier.
Ditto on the same comments that I made in the above.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. We move to other business and board member comments. We'll begin with Mr. Armstrong.
Thank you. First, I want to congratulate all the students and the schools, principals. I went to 5 different graduation ceremonies this weekend. 5. And I didn't hear anybody complaining about them. Each one of them went off without a hitch. There was a couple little hiccups, but for the most part, they were smooth. And I was very impressed with how the principals handled each one of these graduations. And that has a lot to be said about the staff, the principals, the schools, the students. And I was actually very impressed with them. And it also has a lot to do with Dr. Graham and your leadership ability. So the other thing, just wanted to throw this out there, just in case nobody's seen the pictures that was on our Twitter account. Yes, that was me in the dunk tank going under. And the young man that actually dunked me, I actually thought about grounding him because he did it about 4 times. My son's teacher paid my son to come dunk me. Not sure what that's all about, but I actually enjoyed it. It was really a great event. There was a lot of parent participation there. Now, on to a few other things. Dr. Graham, I would like to get some information from you and your staff as far as our testing and how we're testing in the district. What's mandated by the state, what we do, how much is total, and what it's costing the district. And if you'd like, I can give you a better breakdown in the morning by email of what I'm looking for, but I think we need to get a really good grasp on the testing, because it seems like every time I turn around, it's test. And I'm hearing this from my kids, other parents, and I'm concerned with how much is from the state, how much we're doing, and how much it's actually costing us. Now another piece here. Children need recess because they are temporarily bored with their immediate classroom environment. When they go outdoors at recess, they seek novelty, interacting with different peers in different situations, but when the novelty of the recess environment begins to wear, they again need to change. And this is just one small article. I was Googling when some of the parents was up here talking, and start realizing there's a lot of research that backs up what they're saying. I'm not completely, I'm in favor of it. I think kids do need some type of break there. So I do support what they brought up. Now, the other thing I did want to talk to my colleagues about and throw that out there and maybe get some response either from tonight or by the next meeting. I had an opportunity just recently to go to Talc and Spout and have some discussion there. As I was there was some things that was brought to light that I wasn't aware of prior to this administration, and some things during this administration. And it made me start to wonder, why can't a board member periodically go to Talc and Spalk as long as they're not talking about any type of bargaining. So I asked Mr. Martin about this, and I believe, Mr. Martin, you didn't find anything that prohibits a board member. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
So I went to Dr. Greg Atkins and asked Greg Atkins to approach them and ask how they felt about it, and from what I understand, they encouraged it. They'd have no problem. So what I'm asking my colleagues is each one of us every year take the time to go sit in on one of their meetings, just to sit there, listen to their concerns, and be able to bring back to the board and report of Talc and Spalk's immediate concerns, and to be try to get a little bit more engaged in what's going on with Talc and Spalk and understanding their concerns a little bit thoroughly. And again, I don't expect any response tonight. That is completely just something I threw out there. And that is about it for tonight. I'll keep it very short because it's been a very long day so far. Thank you.
Ms. Morgan.
Well, I'll start with your last comment. I do meet with Talc and Spalk try to meet with them on a fairly regular basis. So I'm glad to hear that I wasn't doing anything wrong.
Good news.
Let's see, some of the comments. Mr. Regal, I don't think he's still here, but he gets up at every meeting, and so I wanted to make a public comment. I recently met with Greg Adkins, who's the Assistant Superintendent for Operations, Christine Christensen in Personnel Services, and Andy Brown, the Security Coordinator. And essentially, and they went over their investigation with me. And essentially what I learned is that there's no violation of district policy, nor is there a violation of state law, and that's why the investigations have been closed. But that doesn't take away, but that doesn't remove responsibility for looking at our actions when we hire and when we employ staff. It's important to have principal discretion, but I think situations like this make it necessary to just step back and ask ourselves in the administration whether our guidelines are stringent enough. And that is all I am going to say in response to Mr. Regal's ongoing assertions. Well, Ben Fisher has left. I wanted to thank him for being able to come up and speak to the board. I will say nothing else because this matter is under investigation and it is not for me to comment. Mr. Williams, I don't know if he's still here. He spoke about North Nicholas. There's an active investigation ongoing there. So again, I will not comment, but that is an open investigation and ongoing. With respect to recess, I appreciate what everybody is saying. I appreciate the research that's been done. I know that there are that children being able to take periodic breaks and exercise is important. On the other hand, I don't want to be a board that sets a policy that hamstrings the operation of the schools. I think this is a matter for SACs, for the school advisory committees. If parents are concerned, it needs to come to the school advisory committee. Parents have an opportunity, as do community members, to input into the curriculum and the activities of the school. I think that if those efforts are unsuccessful and parents and administration can't negotiate successfully, then maybe you want to move it up the chain. But I'm very reluctant to impose the board's will when I think the principals on site have the best knowledge about what's appropriate for the kids in their learning environment. I want to give a shout out to Sue Rochon, who received the Chrysalis Education Award last week. For those who know her, she has been a huge driver in putting Lee County on the map when it comes to integrating technical education, career, and adult education into the K-12 curriculum. So I thought that was an award well-deserved. I also want to congratulate Dr. Connie Jones on accepting a superintendency in Pueblo Public Schools, Pueblo City Public Schools in Colorado. I think she's moving to a wonderful place, and I extend my best wishes to her. And then finally, I had asked Dr. Graham to just speak briefly about the strategic planning process and update us all, and she was nice enough to give us a memo. I didn't know if you wanted to add any comments.
I was going to say some of my comments. I can say it now. We had the consultants that you all approved were here last week for 3 days, and they met with each of you. That's where they began. They also met with district staff to begin to collect some information. They've got access to everything we did during the accreditation process. So they've seen all our self-assessments. They've seen the report of the accreditation team. So they know what our required actions are, and we've asked that they look at that seriously as they begin to help us develop goals. They will be back the week of June 8th. There will be 11 community forums. We'll begin to market and advertise those probably before the end of the week. We're just confirming the sites. We're in the process of doing that right now. And the purpose of those will be to gather information from the community based on what they think the goals and commitments of the district need to be. And then towards the end of June, there will be another visit. And when they come, they bring 5 people. And they will come back at the end of June. And they will want to meet with a steering committee that we are in the process of putting together. And so I've asked each of you to select one person from each of your advisories, the advisory you're on, and also you'll need to decide among yourselves a board member to include on that steering committee. And I will bring you the list of who we're proposing. We worked with the visiting team to talk position and rather than people, but the kinds of representation we need on that committee, and I've talked to a few of you about that as well. So I think I asked you to send your names to Susan, and then she'll put them all together for me for your board advisory people, and then you all probably, you don't have to do it tonight, but maybe on June 3rd you could have some discussion about who you want to represent from the board. And those steering committee meetings will begin at the end of June. And that team is intended to guide during the process, and then also as we go on, part of what we committed to with this group and part of what we're paying for is they're going to be our critical friend for the first several years of the plan. And so when they come back, it's the steering committee they'll come back to and have conversation about where we are. So we're in the early stages. When they left, our hope is that we'll have a more solid timeline when they come back on the week of the 8th, but that's the general timeline. And I ask that we at least have the goals close to formulated about by the date you talked about. We wanted them by the time school started. The action plans will take longer, but we want the goals. And I think they felt like the input they got from you gave them some sense of the direction you all want to take, which obviously is going to lead the charge. So that's where we are at this point.
Thank you.
Ms. Dozier.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to thank everyone that spoke publicly, and I'm going to address some, and I'm going to try not to be redundant. Thank you for bringing up the Lehigh issue. I agree with you on that. I'm going to bring up one of my school district, a school that's in my district that continues to come up, and I see that the people have left. But the situation about Mr. LaRosa, I will ask that somebody brief each one of us on what's going on with that investigation, because it seems like it's just taking on a life of its own, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And in fact, just as early as this morning, or late as this morning, we received another email in regard to all of this stuff. And as far as Ms. Fisher is concerned, she said that she contacted her board representative. I don't believe that that is correct. If she had called me on the phone, I would definitely remember that conversation, and I have not had the opportunity to talk with her. Now, if she would have maybe called her office and somebody put her with another office to share her concern, maybe that happened. But I have not talked to her personally, and I have not had any phone calls from her. or I would have returned the phone call. And as far as her son is concerned, you know, I'm glad that he graduated, and I regret that. You know, if he's felt bullied this year by an adult, I regret that, and I'm looking forward to hearing closure on this in the near future. I want to thank all the parents that came here about PE, and I want to tell you that this is one of the issues that I have been talking about now for probably 10 or 12 years, because I think when the FCAT test began, that was the time that many schools chose to reduce or eliminate any type of PE for students, and I was concerned about it then. I'm concerned about it now. Therefore, I'm noticing the public and noticing my fellow board members that I'll be working with Mr. Martin, and I'm going to be bringing forth a motion at the next board meeting. That being said, that addresses a lot of people. Thank Mrs. Robinson for all of her work that she's done. Thank her for the card that she just gave me. Construction Advisory Committee I attended, and we went on a field trip, and we toured the new Dunbar High School, and I would tell my fellow board members, if you have not had the opportunity to go and see it, I would ask that you call Mr. Reggie and see if you could have a tour or something, because it is really unbelievable. I mean, it is really going to be something that community has wanted something for a long time. I think that there should even be a big celebration with opening it to the community and letting the community come in and see it as soon as it's ready, because, I mean, it truly is, I think, a tribute to that community. So I just wanted to tell you all about that little trip. I had the opportunity to attend the Cool Science Awards banquet the other night, and y'all, that was unbelievable. I wish that the rest of you could have been there, and I realize there's so much going on at this time of year that we have to all divvy up different things, and everybody can't be at everything. And I know there was a couple of other large events that some of you were at that night, but Councilman Banks was there, and he wrote, I don't know if all of you got one, but he wrote a letter basically talking about the fact that the Paul Lawrence Dunbar Middle School band played that evening during the refreshment area out on the patio, but we weren't looking at the greens. We were looking at piles of dirt because it was at the Edison. We all know that they're redoing the Fort Myers Golf Course, but it was just a lovely evening, and to see our students and see them looking so good and performing, it was just a wonderful evening, and I was just so excited to be there, and I thank Dr. Graham for her involvement in making sure that we had a presence there. Graduations, we've all been talking about graduations. I attended the Buckingham graduation, and you know, I can usually get through a graduation, but when I start, this is one graduation that is so touching. It is so it pulls on your heartstrings, and you know, those students that graduate, there weren't but 3 graduates, but what those families have gone through, the journey that they have had, it's just incredible. And the principal there is going to be leaving, and I congratulate him on all of his success that he's had there, because it's just been unbelievable. And I certainly hope that I'm sure that Dr. Graham can find somebody that's as caring, loving, nurturing, and will be as good for that school as he has been, because it is truly a special place for all of those students with severe needs, and it's just a wonderful place, and that graduation is so touching, and I think I used a half a box of Kleenexes. The Hall of Fame banquet, I had the opportunity to attend that, and I would like to congratulate all the inductees. Big shout out to Mr. McNerney, who was an inductee this year, who came back all the way from up in the Gainesville area. Also, I had the opportunity to attend the Achieve Awards, Achieve 3000 Awards, and I think those are some of the leftover balloons from the celebration. But we had that night, in fact, when I came in, the place was already packed. There was There were people standing all around there, all around the back, and all up here. In fact, that's why our chairs were all mixed up, because they took these chairs and put them over there to where people could sit in them, and we tried to accommodate as many people as we could. And because that particular day the recruitment fair had been going on, they had tables all in that room, so we didn't have chairs back there. But I told Dr. Graham, I started counting. I just went around and I started counting right over there. Every seat in the auditorium was full, and as I counted, I stopped kind of midway at 150. So remember that I stopped midway, and so the people came standing all the way over to here. So there were probably at least 200 more standing. So I told her that's something we need to look at in the future, getting a larger venue, because I did have a parent that was rather concerned about that issue. But it was a wonderful evening to see all of our kids receive those awards that they received. I also attended the Chrysalis Congratulations to. Thought I saw
she was here earlier.
her. She was here earlier, yes. But for her to receive, Miss Rashawn, to receive this award, very, very deserving. I also had the opportunity last Friday to attend the Fallen Officers Memorial at our over at our police academy over on Michigan Avenue. And I will tell you that if you've never attended one of those ceremonies, I would encourage you to try to do that at some point, because it is one of the most touching ceremonies that you will ever see. And to see all of our young guys in their little uniforms and knowing that they are going to be the ones that are going to be putting themselves out in harm's way, that's another one of those things that really makes you think about things. While I'm talking about that, I want to talk about the recruitment fair. What a great job everyone did. And I have to give accolades to the people who put it together this year, because I heard from several people that said it was so well planned this year that in the past they've had to kind of screen the applicants, but this year the applicants had already been screened, and that it was just such a smooth process. And I want to give you some statistics. An initial report from the recruitment fair, there were 252 attendees the first day. 104 contingency contracts were given. And that's just the first day. There was a few things done the second day, but there will be additional offers as they move forward with some of the names, because a lot of the principals actually took down names and said, well, I might have, I've got a teacher that says she might be leaving, and I'm going to take your name, so I might be calling you. So, I mean, it was just a great event. So, and we had a local business called the it's the Sally Promotions, and they actually made these recruitment fair T-shirts and they made them absolutely free, did not charge them, and they gave these out to every one of the attendees. And I would like, if you will pass that down, that one's for Mr. Scott. And those two are for y'all. These are the only sizes that they had, except for the one for Mr. Scott. But every one of our new attendees will have those and be wearing those. And I love what it says on the front. It's just nothing but positive things. Lee, and I know Dr. Graham already had one. That's why I didn't get one for Dr. Graham, because I knew she already had one. But it's just that was a wonderful event too. So accolades to the staff that put that together. Also, I'm going to piggyback on what my fellow board member, Miss Morgan, said about Connie Jones. Congratulations. I don't know if you're in the audience. I'm looking to see if you are.
She's not here.
I do not see you, but congratulations if you're watching at home or hearing at home on being selected as the superintendent of the Pueblo School District in Colorado. So we're going to be leaving her. It's sad for us, but good for her. The graduations, and I promise I'm going to be finished in a minute. I went to graduations. I went to additional graduations at Cypress, Fort Myers High, South Fort Myers. They were all wonderful. Congratulations to all the kids. Congratulations to all the teachers and the staff that put these very dignified ceremonies together, so that it will give the students a good memory to have in the future. While I'm talking about that, there's only one school in the nation that has Only one of 100 schools in the nation have something called Erasmus Virtual Reality Yearbook. And that's at South Fort Myers High School, because I asked her what she was doing. And what you do is, like, you put your phone over the picture, and I'm just going to talk a little bit about it. I would like for her to come and do a demonstration just for us to see. But you put your phone over the picture, you touch it, it starts doing all sorts of things, and like there's videos. But she made it, it's going to be real hard to get kids to buy yearbooks because they're in touch with technology. And yet, there's a way to link technology to textbooks, and she identified that. It's the only school in the county, and I think there's only 3 in Florida, she said. But that's Miss Gina Sabiston, and I want to say accolades to her for doing this. And I would ask all of you to encourage Dr. Graham to ask her to come and give us just a short presentation, maybe a presentation before a board member, of how that is an interactive yearbook. It's just phenomenal. I'm trying to hurry. I've already told y'all about the recess motion. Brandon, good luck as you go off to college next year. Thank you for being with us over the last, this is your 3rd time. We appreciate that. And you and I may be connecting up there at some point. But anyway, I thank you for being here, and this is our last meeting before everybody exits for the school year. I want to wish all of our teachers, our support staff, a very happy and safe summer. Rest up, students rest up, come back it used to be come back in the fall, but it's come back in August, and we'll have the doors ready, all the schools ready, and be waiting for open arms for you all. And that's all I have. Thank you very much. Sorry for the length.
Ms. Fisher.
Okay. I need to take a breath after all that. I want to echo the congratulations to Connie Jones. I know she'll do a great job there, and Godspeed. Thank you, Brandon. Not only have you been here 3 times at the board table with us, but you've been in the audience every meeting in between.
Yes, he has.
I know you're having a hard time tearing yourself apart, but you got to go to college. Thank you for your contribution and your interest. Kathleen, thank you for thanking us, but thank you more for what you've done for those kids in your buses all these years. You've been fantastic. It's been a whirlwind the past couple of weeks, from the Trafalgar Elementary Academic Fair through the Student Film Festival and the retirement celebration for John and Sue Miller, who taught 40 years to science and have touched many lives, been Golden Apple Teachers and Teachers of the Year, et cetera, through the Lee County Hall of Fame, and the Learning for Life 10-year anniversary dinner at Broadway Palm, which featured many of our students showing their talents in the front of the theater, in the lobby, and on the stage. I had an opportunity to participate in a 4-H youth leadership forum, and Marshall Bauer was there as a speaker, as was Randy Henderson, and one of our ROTC instructors from Cypress Lake High School. The Royal Palm Extra program, which has been in existence also 10 years, had their luncheon at the Colonial Country Club. And sadly, Mr. Pegler, who has directed that program for the last 10 years, is retiring. But the accomplishments of those students who are special needs students and are in a very specialized and confining program, he has taken them out into the community, and they've worked with the Harry Chapin Food Bank and nursing homes and Salvation Army, volunteering and really becoming community members and learning those life skills that are going to take them to the next level. They may not all be academic stars, but they know what they need to do to survive in our community and to become contributing members. So I want to congratulate Mr. Pegler and Miss Beth Santini for the work that they've done with the children there. Salis Care has opened a full-service center in Cape Coral, and their youth services division is going to be a very welcome access and resource to us, because we have a lot of kids who have mental health and substance abuse issues who need help. And I've heard from many parents in the Cape Coral community already that they are grateful that they don't have to cross the bridge and go to Ortiz anymore for help for their kids. Also, I want to echo Kathleen and Jeannie's congratulations to Sue Rochon for the work that she's done with the STEM at Work, the STEMtastic, etc. We had the last Lee County Sheriff's Office Do the Right Thing ceremony in this boardroom, and every month this year they've had over 20 kids who were recognized for doing the right thing. And I hope that will continue to do that positive behavior support by recognizing kids who make good choices. The elementary school book battles, talk about full. This place was full, and there were twinkling lights and sequins and all kinds of screaming and yelling and horns and a big tiger. And the kids who are fortunate, unlike 800 million people in this world who can't read or write, that they were able to exercise their brains and really show their stuff. And the excitement was phenomenal. So thanks to the teachers and to, and I'm having a brain freeze because I can't remember her name, Sandra Yeagle, who organized that, and her staff. The graduations I attended were Cape Coral High School, Ida Baker High School, Lehigh High, and the adult ed. And Dr. Graham and I both cried at the adult ed. It was quite inspiring, but all of the ceremonies were so well done, so dignified, and definitely will be memorable. Last night we had a Curriculum Advisory Committee meeting, and as the year comes to an end, the Curriculum Advisory Committee has selected 2 legislative priority recommendations for the board, one being that standardized testing should be used as it was designed, only to measure student progress and do educational diagnosis. And number 2, that charter schools receiving public funding be subject to the same rules of accountability as public schools. What can I say about recess except that I'm going to fully support whatever you bring forward? There's so much research out there, and common sense will tell us that recess is much needed for many reasons. But I'll tell you that it contributes to children's health, it contributes to the ability to concentrate, and all in all, I will tell you that 20 minutes built into a day would definitely result in increased academic achievement. As the summer is upon us and we won't have another board meeting before school is out, I do want to wish everyone a safe, healthy, and peaceful summer. And I saw on the news last night that an 8th grader in Collier County was collecting food with members of a local church to give to kids for the summer. And I know that some of us may not be aware of the level of hunger in this community, but we are the 3rd hungriest place for children, second only to Dallas, Texas, and Washington, D.C. So if you can, bring a small donation to Christian Cooperative Ministries, Salvation Army, Harry Chapin, Cape Caring Center. You can help feed kids who may not be getting a lot to eat this summer. Thank you, all of you, for the work that you do. Thanks to our teachers, thanks to our parents who support our wonderful students, and have a great summer. Thank you.
Mr. Rice, it's time for your farewell address.
I would like to say thank you to the board members for this opportunity. I've really enjoyed myself. Lee County is an awesome school district. We have some amazing teachers who have really impacted my life, and their teachings and their love, I know I'm going to carry it throughout college and into Mars Hill University.
It's been a learning experience. I've enjoyed it. And I just hope to keep in touch with you, Ms. Dozier. We'll meet up in North Carolina.
Yes, we will.
Thank you.
I want to thank my colleagues on the board for picking up the slack the last 3 weeks while I haven't been available. The thing I really missed during that period of time is the graduations. And I've had the chance to do Buckingham twice. And what Kleenexes you didn't use up, I did. It is, it's really something. And if people haven't been there to see it, you don't know what you're missing. So when somebody doesn't feel well, their leg hurts, their back hurts, their whatever, I encourage you to go out there and see the drive and ambition that those young people have. It's incredible. Kathleen, I wish you well. I know your furniture's someplace and you're here, so however it turns out, I'm with you. Whatever the good Lord wants is what we're going to get, and we shouldn't argue about it because it's all done for the right reasons. And I thank everybody part of the school district for your hard work this year, starting from Dr. Graham all the way down the line. Takes a lot of effort, a lot of work, a lot of coordination to corral 87,000 kids and 10,000 employees. But each one of you has great value, and you've made a lot of difference in lives, as you just heard. And I think that's probably the most rewarding thing that any of us can go away with at night and put our head on a pillow and say, maybe I did something today to help some young person move in the right direction in their life. So I'm glad to be back, and we'll take on whatever we've got to take on in the future. Mr. Martin, do you have any comments?
Yes, sir. Just one piece of housekeeping with respect to Dr. Graham's contract. The present contract requires that the school board make a determination by the 20th of May, today, whether Dr. Graham's employment as a superintendent will be extended beyond the termination date of June 19. With the board postponing action on the employment contract, that action to make that determination needs to be made this evening. And it's simply a determination to extend Dr. Graham's employment as the superintendent beyond the present termination date of June 19th.
Do we need a motion, a
Yes,
vote?
ma'am.
I would like to make a motion to extend Dr. Graham's contract and let her know what our intentions are to extend it.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Dozier, second by Ms. Fisher. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Dr. Graham.
I want to begin by apologizing to Oscar Olguin, who has sat here patiently, and I should have done this after the consent agenda was approved. Oscar has gone from program specialist in Title I to program administrator, Title I. So Oscar, congratulations. Maybe I'll be here long enough to learn to interrupt after the consent agenda to introduce people that have changed positions. I wanted to share with you that per your instruction, Mr. Martin and I met with EDAC and talked to them about becoming a board advisory. Mr. Daly, as their chair, facilitated the discussion with great expertise, I will say. And the EDAC committee understands and appreciates the opportunity to become an advisory. So a recommendation will be coming forward, and to make that happen, Mr. Martin explained to them all the things that would change because EDAC was a separate policy. It was not part of the board advisory policy. And part of that recommendation, I committed to them. I made no commitment on your part, but I committed to them that I would include in the recommendation that the people that are currently on it be allowed to be in the first round of that group as an advisory. There are still openings on there, so it would not mean there wouldn't be any other appointments, but the people that are on there have served, and I said I would include that in the recommendation. So we will bring that forward June 3rd? Or do we have to have a hearing?
It's a
We have
revision
hearing.
of policies, so the
Or have we done it?
the workshop could occur on June 20. Well, the briefing meeting is the 24th of June. Is that?
Is that 27th? 24th.
It'll be accomplished before the next school year begins.
Okay.
We'll figure out the time frame and let you know.
So a recommendation will be coming per your instructions from a few months ago. I know this has come up a few times, it did come up tonight, but we have had the 2 juniors who are left on the superintendent's advisory commit to cover the June and July meetings. So we will have students here during the summer, and then we got some great feedback. Dr. Spiro led them through a conversation yesterday, and great feedback on how they were selected and how we might help their principals continue to make selections that will work now that they've had the experience. They understand what it's about, and got good feedback from them about the experience and what they think is beneficial and what we might do differently next year. So we look forward to the new group coming on board in August, but in the meantime, the summer meetings will be covered. And I gave the strategic plan update. The only other thing I want to and I know a lot's been said about graduation, there were 250 graduates at the adult ed graduation. It was people who've gotten their GED at some time during the past year. I'm going to tell you there were 250 unbelievable stories that went with that, and I would encourage any of you that have never been to that. I came back and said, new rule, everybody on cabinet's going to go to an adult ed graduation. It was amazing. Bob Beeman spoke, and Sue Rashawn told the class, I don't know how many graduating classes get an Olympic gold medalist to speak to them. And Bob Taylor, who is a county employee, told his story of getting his GED and now has a master's and a very successful job, and helped design JetBlue Park and a few other places that we kind of know in this county. But the stories they told were amazing. So, and then the high school graduations I went to, I tweeted along the way, and I hope if anybody saw me using my phone during graduation, I just want to say I had the principal's permission, and I tweeted processionals and recessionals, but I took notes on several things that the kids said in their speeches, and I'll be tweeting those out from time to time. They were, you think you've heard having been a high school principal a long time, you think you've heard every speech, and then you hear another one, and they were moving. And probably my favorite quote of this year was, a young lady just said to her peers, now go out and create your world. And I thought that was really wonderful. So I thank you for the opportunity to lead this district. It remains a privilege and an honor.
The next scheduled meetings of the board are on June 3rd, 2 o'clock, the briefing meeting, followed by the action meeting at 6 p.m. Having no other business to come before the body, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Ms. Fisher, second by Mr. Armstrong. All in favor? This meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Brandon.